it.
Wing it.
Uh,
I think that's the best way to do this kind
I'll,
of podcast.
I'll bring it up a few different things, like what's it going to mean for the rebuild? What's it going to mean for the city? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Let's do it.
All right. What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grind Line Podcast. I am your host, Greg, and we are on episode 53. I am here with Ryan and Tyler tonight. How are you guys doing today?
We're the three best friends. Finally, Tyler's alive.
Yeah, I'm alive. Unfortunately, life has been kind of busy lately, but I had to make it on for this one, and I'd like to make it back on for more as we go on here. But I'm glad to be on for this one for sure.
Whoop, whoop.
Well, we are happy to have you. We are going to do our Steve Yzerman special tonight. So we're going to be focusing mainly on, as you guys all know, Steve Yzerman made his return to the Detroit Red Wings as general manager.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we love it. It's amazing. It's what we all hoped and dreamed for. But we've got quite a bit to talk about as it pertains to Steve Yzerman. So if you've been following us on Twitter, we did run a poll. I also ran that same poll on Facebook. We've got some salty lightning tweets to get to and posts. And I think we're going to start a little bit with how much this actually means to the team. So, of course, the captain back. Holland decided, and apparently it was Ken Holland's decision to bring Yzerman back, but Holland decided to step up into a senior role, take a larger or smaller role, but a higher role to let Yzerman come in and be the general manager and the vice president of hockey ops. So I think to the team, this has a pretty significant impact to have one of their best players the organization has ever seen come back and actually manage them. So I think we'll start with Ryan. How much of an impact do you think this has on the team?
It has an immediate impact, and what I mean by immediate impact is that it's fucking awesome. Like, you see what he's done. I'm just gonna be straightforward with it. It's the best thing that Detroit has had in general in sports since probably the last time the Wings even won a freaking series. It's been a struggle. ESPN. I mean, when ESPN is dropping the shade on all four Detroit sports teams, it's getting to a point where we're looking like Cleveland, which is never a good sign.
No.
But I mean, he is the knight in shining armor. I think a lot of people thought that he would be that back in 2010, 09, 10, when he actually left and went to Tampa, when it was assumed or believed that Kenny didn't step aside. But he's going to come in. He's got some pieces in place that he can start making his team, his vision, and it all starts with this upcoming draft. But the impact has already been noticed across the city, and everyone like that's covering it, even nationwide up into Canada. It's like it's everywhere. Everyone knew it was coming. They talked about it for the longest time, but now to see that it's actually come to fruition. I mean, I was up at 6:20 in the morning on when the news broke, and I didn't get offline until the end of the day. So that's the type of impact it has on just like random sports idiots, fans like we are.
Yeah, in every day since, people are still saying, "Good morning, Steve Yzerman is the general manager of the Detroit Red Wings."
Mm-hmm.
So, Tyler, what do you think the impact it has on the team?
I think it has an immediate, tremendous impact, especially on players like that are already here, like Abdelkader and DeKaiser and players like that. Like they now know that if they don't put their best effort and their best foot forward this summer, next year they may not be a part of the team. They may not be a part of the team anyways. And then it also gives players like Larkin and even players that have been here a while, like Larkin and Mantha and Athanasiou, that gives them confidence, but at the same time, it puts in the back of your head, nobody's safe. He didn't draft any of us. He didn't develop any of us. Nobody's safe. And I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing to give a team, because now there's going to be fire, not only from the older guys, but from the younger guys and the middle guys like Larkin, Mantha, Athanasiou, those kind of players, Bertuzzi, and the younger players upcoming like Veleno and Zadina. and Hronek and Cholowski, I guess if you can count them as the younger guys. It just has a immediate tremendous effect, and we're going to see that early next year. We're going to see that in training camp, as long as we don't have a lockout.
Yeah, I really hope we don't. I don't think we're gonna get another lockout, but it's hard to say really. So I do think
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that one of the immediate impacts it has on the team is I think it goes towards being more of a business, less of a family.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I think you might see guys like Abdelkader hit bricks. I think you might see guys like Eriksson bought out. You might see him try to aggressively move a contract like Nielsen, or try to aggressively move a Darren Helm, or I mean, you'd think he might try to trade Abdelkader, but that's not tradable.
Mm-mm.
So even
what
Mike
if you
Green,
eat half of it though? Is that tradable if you eat half of it?
I don't even think it's even worth it.
if you eat half, that's $2 million, but you're eating basically what the cap is going up. So I'm not eating it.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
just might as well keep them.
Exactly. But I think you see it go towards more of a business, which it should be. In the cap era, it's a business. In a non-cap era, it can be as much of a family as you want because you've got unlimited money.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep guys like Abdelkader because you can sign Brett Hull, and you can sign Hasek, and you can sign all these people that make up for the shortcomings, which you can't do now.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I think the other impact it's going to have is in the locker room, like Tyler was saying, to the guys like Mantha, to the guys like Larkin, because Stevie brings with him not only his general manager pedigree, but also his player pedigree, and being the consummate pro and the team's captain. And I think just being around him, being able to go to him talking with the players, I think it instills more of a confidence in the player than talking to someone like Ken Holland probably does.
Absolutely.
I think
that's just my opinion.
I think that last point you make is the biggest one. I get it, Ken Holland. He's your atypical businessman in the front office, but when you bring in a guy with Yzerman's pedigree for the front office, but then you add on to it that he's very, depending on who you talk to, one of the best, if not the best player to ever wear the wing wheel. I mean, that's a stretch. Him and Gordy, if they were the same time frame, would have been freaking crazy. But he is the captain for a reason, and that's why you see him still getting highlights all over the place and having the impact that he could possibly have on the young guys, particularly Larkin. That's huge.
Yeah, I think the big thing too is you're going to see probably more trades, and what better to trade players than Steve Yzerman, who traded and got Ryan McDonough and JT Miller, and gave up names like Libor Hijack, Brett Howden, Nemestikov. Now, he did give up the 2018 first round pick to the Rangers, but it was a low pick because they made it so far in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
He traded Michael Leighton for Louis Domingue time again. He traded Jonathan Drouin for Miguel Sergachev, and that was a great trade. Drouin's come on for the Canadians, and he's a good player, but Sergachev has been good for Tampa. He traded he traded Ben Bishop to the Kings for Peter Budaj, Eric Cernak, and 2 picks.
And that Cernak kid is actually pretty good, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he's makes smart trades, and he doesn't make trades just to make trades. He got Braden Coburn for a Radko Gudas, a first round pick and a third round pick. So, I mean, he's not going to do a trade and not have it have some kind of impact on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like he's not the type of guy either that's going to come in here and do what Shanahan did in Toronto, where he just literally fired everybody. I think he's going to come in here and take a good look at it. He's not going to be in a huge rush to make, drastic changes, and he's certainly not going to make changes for the sake of making changes.
No, and he's not afraid to make that hard decision. Like, I mean,
Right.
He came in and he instantly traded the second he came in to
Lecavalier.
Tampa. He traded Lecavalier He traded
Martin St.
hold
Louis.
on. Yeah, he traded Martin St. Louis to the Rangers for a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and Ryan Callahan. So he's not afraid to, I guess you would say, hurt people's feelings. But again, the player should know it's a business.
If you remember correctly, too, that Martin St. Louis trade was like literally he only wanted to go to the New York Rangers. That's the only place he wanted to go, and he got a first and a second. And who was it? Do you say Ryan Callahan?
Yeah,
Ryan
Callahan, the other
who was
pest.
their captain at the time.
Yeah, it was a
St.
captain.
Louis was a captain at the
trade.
time too, wasn't he?
No.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, he
was
was.
he?
Yeah, they traded captains.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
let us not
I think
forget the Steve Downey, which turned into us getting Kyle Quincy and trading a first-round pick.
You shut your whore mouth.
I am here for
Oh
hell.
God. So that's I think the immediate impact that Yzerman has on a team is he comes in with a no bullshit attitude. He's going to do what needs to be done to get this team back to contention. So the other half of this is, what does Yzerman do for the rebuild? How do you think he speeds it up significantly? Do you think that it's going to stay along the same pace? And I think one of the big things we took away from the Yzerman interview was he's preaching patience, which I agree with, because he knows it's not going to happen overnight, and every fan should expect it not to happen overnight. Rebuilds aren't done, like say Rome wasn't built in a day. Rebuilds aren't done in 2 years.
No.
I mean, look at the Maple Leafs, right?
Well, shit, look at the Capitals. Look how long it took them. I mean, even when Yzerman was the captain of the Wings, him and Ovi had a very eerily similar career path where it took them both 10 plus years to finally get that cup. I mean, were they dominance right out the gate? Not necessarily.
No.
It's going to take time. I think the three of us have been, for the most part, patient enough to understand that and realize that this isn't going to be quick. We're aware that they're at least 3 years out before bringing in Stevie happened. But I think that bringing him in, it bumps it up even possibly a year or two, because if he does the things that you've already mentioned, Greg, there's no telling what could happen with this roster, especially for what's in the pipeline now, where they're at in the draft for this year, and then just the core they've already got established. I mean, there's a lot of great things that could happen in a very short time frame.
Yep. Yeah, what I'm hoping he does is I'm hoping he brings over some of the scouts from Tampa with him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Yep. I can't remember the one guy's name, but another name. There's a couple names that apparently have clauses in their contracts that were in place that if Yzerman will leave, they were able to leave and do as they please. One of the names that keeps getting dropped is Pat Verbeek.
Yep.
Which would be huge. And there was another big scout. I can't think of his name right now. I want to say it was like McDaniel or something. It started with an M. But there's talk that he may end up coming to Detroit as well.
Yeah, I think I heard Yzerman talking about this in the press conference, and basically he said that the only way you're going to bring someone over from that organization, you're not going to bring someone over from that organization to come to this organization just for no reason. You're going to have to give them a higher spot in the organization.
Yeah, or more money.
Al Murray, not McDaniel. I'm sorry. Al Murray
that's who it was. Yeah,
the director of amateur scouting.
Yep. And that's huge, because if they were to bring him in, that would get rid of the guy that they have now, or would push him aside anyways. What's his name? I forget. I always forget.
The Red Wings director of amateur scouting?
Yeah.
Is it
It's not Fisher's.
Is it Martin?
No, it's that other
assistant GM?
No.
Hold on.
And it's not Sean Horkoff, is it?
Not Haken.
No.
Jeff Finley is the chief amateur scout.
Okay, so then that would replace Jeff Finley.
Tyler Wright.
Okay, there you go. That's what I was thinking of, but
Tyler Wright is the Red Wings director of amateur scouting. But even if you kept him and you brought in other scouts because that's one thing that I think the Lightning have done very well with is scouting and drafting. So if you could bring in some of that talent to the Red Wings organization, mix it up a little bit, I think that could help in the rebuild, getting more quality picks, especially with the amount of picks we have.
You have to get back to what the Red Wings were built on in the 90s. Obviously, it's a different game. And even in the 2000s and stuff like that, they did a great job of drafting. Datsuk and Zetterberg were taken in rounds 6 and 7 or whatever it was, and Lidstrom was taken deep in the draft. Now, I'm not saying you can find players like that still nowadays
because you really can't
like that, but you can still find players in the 3rd and 4th and 5th rounds that become impact players, and that's where you need to make your meal money if you're going to have impact players. Obviously, you have to hit on your high picks that you end up getting, but you still have to get lucky. There is a point in time where you do get lucky.
Yep.
Yeah, and to the point about Murray too, and Verbeek for that matter. Murray, I'm reading the Joe Smith article about who could possibly depart Tampa with Yzerman leaving as well. Murray was a big piece of landing guys like Braden Point, Anthony Cirelli, and Nikita Kucherov.
Wow.
So, and then also the biggest thing with him though is apparently he does have the opt-out clause, according to the article here, with Yzerman leaving, because he's actually got 2 years left in his contract, but Verbeek's contract is up June 30th.
Yep. I saw that.
I think the Braden Point situation is really interesting too.
He's an RFA, right?
He's an RFA, and I'm not sure they're going to have enough money to sign him, plus all the other people they need to sign.
Well, an offer sheet certainly is a possibility. I don't know if that's the greatest look for Yzerman to come over to Detroit and offer sheet his whole team, but you know what? That would be Steve Yzerman. I don't think is the type of guy that would do it. But if it's going to be done, who more perfect to do it to than your old team, the team that you got to the Stanley Cup final but couldn't get over.
Lamoriello.
Yeah, I'm also not sure you want to give up the draft capital that it would cost to offer him Braden
What is
Point.
it, a first, second, and a third?
It depends on the what you offer him. So if you offer him like $8 million, it's a first, second, and third. But if you offer him more than that, I believe it's 2 firsts and like a second. And then it depends. It goes by money tiers, but I think it goes all the way up to like 3 first-round picks.
3 first, yep.
Yeah,
because that's what Philly was going to have to give up for Shea Weber, and then Nashville matched it.
Yeah, I don't think we're at the point where we want to offer Sheet tons of money and get rid of draft capital.
No.
If you're going the $4 million to $6 million range is a first round and a third rounder. So if you're going 6.08 plus to 8.1, it's a first, second, and third.
Yeah, I don't think it's really worth that. Now, Tyler, how far do you think that bringing in Yzerman moves the rebuild forward? Is Tyler dead?
What happened to Tyler?
I don't know. I see the top corner of his head.
Tyler.
Oh my God, I think he died.
Is it frozen? I think his phone froze.
He's frozen.
The Matrix has him.
Damn it, Tyler.
Where'd he go? Yeah, it's definitely his is definitely froze.
Hold on. He might not know that he's froze.
Tyler.
Let me text him.
Never fails.
Exactly. God damn it, Tyler. Quit fucking with us.
I pulled up the cap friendly to see what the compensation picks would be.
Yes. Turner Elson scores from a feed from Hronek, and now it's 3-2.
So 3. Oh, I missed some?
Yeah, Chicago scored just a minute ago.
Oh, 3-2 Chicago. God damn it.
Can I remove Tyler?
You should be able to boot him, right?
Are you sure you want to eject Tyler? Yes, I do. Let me bring him back in.
Recall me.
I just did.
Winged Wheel Podcast now has a website.
What?
The Winged Wheel Pod has a website.
Oh, who cares? I'm inviting him again. We'll see if it works. Come on, Tyler. probably going to need the link.
The link?
Yeah, because I'm inviting him and he's not responding to it. Let's see, hangouts.google.com/hangouts/x3 G5 C7 YG5. CX. Oh, there's
I'm
Tyler.
here.
Oh,
right.
hey.
Something happened to my internet. It was being weird.
All right. I'm going to ask you the question that I asked you right before you froze.
I heard I heard the question, and
All right.
I don't know what.
Well, I'm going to re-ask it so that I can edit it together.
Okay.
So, Tyler, how far ahead do you think hiring Yzerman puts the rebuild?
I don't think it puts it. I don't think it like accelerates it. To like foot to the gas pedal like we're going here, but it definitely puts it in the right direction. You start to see that from the fans. Then the fans will be more, a lot more positive and hoping, and seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's kind of what it gives you, more of a light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. And, obviously he's going to make most of the right decisions. Obviously he's not going to make every single right decision, but it definitely makes it a lot more easy to swallow than with Ken Holland doing the rebuild.
Yeah, I think that's part of the funny thing that happened, because like decisions that Holland made that people are like, oh my God, it's the worst decision ever. They say Yzerman made the same decision. They're like, well, if that's what Stevie believes, then it's got to be the right decision. They're like, come on.
How much the Blashill hate has calmed down since he said he has his faith in him.
Yeah, in that it's evident that Yzerman signed off on the Blashill extension because they'd been talking since the beginning of March, and Blashill was extended mid-March. So Yzerman gave the okay to extend Blashill.
I'll tell you guys one thing: the fact that they've been talking since mid-March, and we didn't hear about it, just tells you how much like Steve Yzerman is a consummate pro. Like they don't want anything to leak out, and they want to keep it, as, I hate to say this, but as Patriot-like as it gets, where everything stays in house and it's kind of a system, and that's great to see that, that stuff like that doesn't get out. Where
the fact that it's soon.
Go ahead.
The fact that as soon as he announced that he was stepping down, Ken Holland and Chris Ilitch met to say that they need to bring him back, and that never got out from last year. That's impressive.
Yeah, the whole thing's impressive. To be honest, especially in this day and age that we live in social media, surprised like Bob McKenzie or like one of those guys didn't have any fingerprint on it. They must have had that locked down, and they weren't going to let that get out, and that's great.
I think they still said quite a bit in regards to what was going on, though. They've had opinions going all the way back to the start of this season when Stevie stepped down as the GM role.
They did, but none of them were consistent. The opinions were not consistent.
I think McKenzie was most consistent.
Yeah, but
McKenzie said it was going to happen.
Well, if you look what Bob said versus what Elliot Friedman said versus what Kevin Weeks said versus whoever the NHL Network people are, they all had a little different take on what they thought was going to happen. No one doubted he was going to come back to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But Tyler, stop touching your microphone. No one doubted he was going to come back to Detroit, but they all had different ideas of how it was going to happen or exactly what it was going to look like. And I mean, we're beyond thrilled that he's the general manager, not just like president of hockey operations.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So now we're going to move to kind of the fun part of the podcast, where we're going to absorb all the salt that the Tampa Bay fan base has put out in their just absolute denial that he left to come join Detroit. And we'll start with this tweet that said, maybe Yzerman can build a 62-win team in Detroit that'll fail to win the cup. The man has more experience in that matter than anyone. And I read
he's
that.
already done that.
Yeah, but I read that and I'm like, well, at least that would get us into the playoffs. And I'm reading these and I'm like, oh God, the salt. But I mean, I'll take a 62 win season. Detroit wins another 62 games.
Were there fans that much under a rock to think that he wasn't going to come back?
No, yes, there were, because we can move to a tweet that says, hold Yzerman accountable. He bailed on the Lightning and gave a BS reason. Didn't even really give a reason. Completely disrespectful. Should the Wings expect him to bail in the middle of the night?
What?
Yeah.
What?
They say being with your family is apparently a BS reason to leave.
Did that person even know what the actual reason was, or did they just see that he left and thought it was a bunch of bullshit and they're like,
No, I read a lot of these and I'm like, what is the level of fan expertise in Tampa? Because he said he gave a BS reason, and then he said he really didn't even give a reason, but he did give a reason, and it was all over everything, especially Twitter.
This is putting to shame Habs fans right now with Kotkaniemi.
Yeah. Well, the next tweet says, Yzerman bailed before he finished the job he was hired to do. Now,
no, he was actually hired. He was hired to make the Tampa Bay Lightning a relevant franchise and sell more than 4,000 tickets a night. That's what he was hired to do. He wasn't. Oh well, I mean, ultimately he was hired to win the Stanley Cup. But first of all, he was hired to make that franchise relevant again, and he did a very good job of doing that.
Well, here's the thing.
I would say
he built a 62-win team, right? Is it his fault they didn't perform in the playoffs?
Nope.
No.
Whose fault is that?
That's where you look at the players, and that's why you look at, like, back when Yzerman was still playing. Like, everyone looked at him. Yeah, I haven't heard I've also haven't really paid that much attention to it, but has there really been much said about Stamkos?
No,
not at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, Stammer showed up for like 5 minutes in the entire playoffs. But I think, like, he did his job. He went there. He built a relevant team. He built a team that tied the record with an asterisk of the Red Wings, the 62 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not his fault that they completely underestimated the Blue Jackets the entire series. That's not his fault.
I think the Jackets are a team that has finally figured out, oh my God, we have a lot of fucking good players.
Oh, yeah.
We should be better than this.
Can they beat Boston, please?
Yeah, hopefully.
God.
But like, oh, hey, look, Matt Duchene's here. How long have you been here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the next tweet says, bye-bye, Yzerman. We won't miss ya. And I want to revisit that tweet in like 3 years.
Can you pin that to the to the webpage?
I think that's like that'll be an evergreen tweet. I'm gonna actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna clip it and I'm gonna make it our banner image. And that's what I'll do right now. But I just want to go back to that person in 3 years and be like, missing Yzerman yet? As they cry or they delete their account.
And that'll be a freezing cold takes moment too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the next tweet says, well, fuck Steve Yzerman. He's the enemy now, and I hope he fails monumentally in Detroit.
I can get behind that one a little bit.
These Tampa fans, I remember when we played them in the playoffs and hockey Twitter was like at its height. And I think it was the first time we played them. There was like the Brian Boyle things and like
him and Applicator going at it.
The dumbass people. No. The people bringing the signs to the game. # Brian Boyle things with the tweets on Twitter like before the games and stuff like that. Like there was
thankfully that's evolved
things,
into # Corey Perry things.
There was so many things in those series. And I remember when we had the winged octopus at one point, we had to block like 100 Tampa fans because they would just keep coming at us. And at one point we're just like, you know what, this is enough. Enough is enough. And I even still, if we play Tampa and, you know, I say fuck Tampa or, you know, something like that, they come at you. Oh my God. They're like a swarm of fucking yellow jackets. They don't stop. I'm surprised. We're gonna get some backlash from these guys. You watch, you'll see.
I don't think it ever stopped.
No,
They
never stop.
these people are bandwagoners because Tampa fans in general are just bandwagoners, and you'll see when the Lightning aren't as good as they are, how many people fall off that bandwagon.
I mean, shit, I will say it was pretty impressive to see. Granted, the Wings were winning again and people were excited, but LCA, I almost said the Joe, which is still upsetting to me. But LCA that was a damn good crowd that last 2 weeks of the season. And
Yeah,
to
'cause they
be
were
there
winning.
for one of those games was awesome. That just speaks more to the fans, I think, for this area and in general for the Wings than anything. So whatever Tampa fans want to do, fuck them.
So
Fuck 'em.
We have Steve Yzerman, bitch.
the next tweet is from the same guy that said we won't miss you. It says Yzerman is a puke in a disgrace to Canada after, quote, wanting to spend time with family. Enjoy the dumpster fire of Detroit and their fake fan base.
Fake fan base.
Yep. Fake fan base.
Okay. So fake
What?
fan base, right? So we're Hockey Town, right? We don't have it on the
Yep.
ice anymore.
Trademark
whatever.
Hockey Town.
True story.
Trademark Hockey Town. True story, right? Okay, so maybe people don't come to the games when the team is, 20 games under 500 and, it's middle of winter and sorry, nobody wants to go to the game when the team's awful and trying to lose. But they're at the end of the season, they're winning games. They're even like during the big games, they played Nashville, Pittsburgh, all the big teams, Tampa Bay. They're singing the songs and it's just the crowd is awesome at LCA. It almost reminds you of the Joe at times,
Well,
especially even though the team sucks.
Yeah.
There's still people that care about the team and go to the games. And I don't know, people are just it's not a fake fan base. It never was a fake fan base. No Original Six fan base is fake. None of them.
You know what? For being such a fake fan base, we still beat fucking Tampa Bay out on total attendance and average attendance for the year, and it wasn't even 100% for us. So eat a dick.
Yeah, fake fan base.
right.
Even though we have like the largest attendance among like out of state games than like any other team, we fill most other arenas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So now we're gonna go to one guy just says no cup, no love, good riddance. Like that was his fault.
I don't get it.
That's
then the
just
last
saltiness, though.
Oh yeah, no, they're just sad. And then the last one is Detroit doesn't look like an upgrade in any way. Roster, city, people. Detroit is garbage.
Well, Detroit is home for him, actually. So,
well, he lives in West Bloomfield, but
well, okay,
yeah,
but you know what I mean. He's an icon in Detroit. What is he in Tampa Bay? He's a businessman in Tampa Bay. That's what he is. That's what people know him as in Tampa Bay. They know him as a businessman and a guy that, makes moves. He's not an icon like he is in Detroit. They're going to show Yzerman on the big screen. And he's going to get a standing ovation like you've never seen before at Little Caesars Arena. Mark my words.
That opening night is going to be epic when Yzerman's name is dropped.
Oh, I'll be there, boys.
Oh, you know what's going to be?
We all shall be there.
You know what's going to be even more epic? When he hands that jersey with the C on it to Dylan Larkin, and I have to go to the bathroom and change my pants.
Why would that be, Greg? Why would that be?
Because he had an orgasm there, Tyler.
It's going to be so exciting, Tyler.
You'll learn about that in 7th grade.
So I think like that, there's going to be so many moments where it's just, like you said, Tyler, he means more to us than just being the new general manager than he would mean in any other city he would go to. Because any other city he would go to, he would just be the general manager. And here he's the general manager, but he's also the captain coming home.
Yep, he's Steve Yzerman. Everybody knows who Steve Yzerman is.
Detroit legend, Steve Yzerman.
Mm-hmm.
Just to put this into perspective, I was at the Bruins game the other night against the Toronto Maple Leafs game 5, and I had this very Steve Yzerman jersey on. And I had the most angry fan base in all of hockey coming up. Oh man, congratulations on the Yzerman news. Congratulations. Yzerman was one of my favorite players. Oh man, the Red Wings are going to be back to the glory days soon. Like, just I could name quote after quote after quote. Walking by people tapped me on the shoulder. You must be excited, buddy. Like, just they didn't know me from a hole in the wall, and they're giving me congratulations where their team's trying to beat Toronto right now, and even the Leafs fans too. Like, that just shows you how respected Steve Yzerman is, not only just in Detroit, but throughout the whole National Hockey League.
Exactly. So needless to say, we are all very excited that Yzerman is coming back.
Very, very excited, yes.
It means a ton to us. It means a ton to the organization. Hopefully that will soon be reflected in the roster and the management and all the way down to on-ice production. But I think we're running out of time. So if you guys give me your final thoughts and your Twitter handles, that would be fantastic. And we will start with Ryan.
My final thought is simply a quote from the recent Down Goes Brown article on The Athletic. It's a positive thoughts article for the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Positive thought number 1. Steve Yzerman is here to save us all. And I will end with that. Twitter handle RDRyan33.
Tyler.
Steve Yzerman is the GM of the Detroit Red Wings, and we're all happy. This summer is going to be a lot of fun. Next season is going to be a lot of fun. We may not win. We may not make the playoffs, but Steve Yzerman's got us in the right direction, and that's so good to hear. You can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
Are you sure?
First try. My final thoughts are that I'm happy it happened. Some of us had doubts that he was going to come back as general manager. I'm happy that he's general manager. I'm happy that I feel we are in great hands. I would also like to sincerely thank Ken Holland for everything that he has done for the Red Wings from the time he got here, even though he made some bad signings. He is part of the reason that the Red Wings are where they're at today with the core they have now going forward. So he gave Yzerman a good base to work with. It's kind of exciting that he's still working with Yzerman in an official role, because Yzerman learned all he learned from Ken Holland. He just avoided a lot of dumb mistakes that Holland made. So, we're happy he's back. We literally could not have asked for more. I'm excited for what is shaping up to be probably a more active than normal off season. And you can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline podcast online at Grindline Pod. You can get our podcast on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, soontobe-radio.com, Stitcher, and Podbean. You can visit our merch store. If you go to redbubble.com and type in the Grindline, you will find our shop. I just uploaded a new design recently. What was my latest design? Oh, it says Yzerplan V 2.0.
Nice.
It's a pretty sweet shirt. I'm going to order one on a tank for the summer, but any of the proceeds from the merch shop go to supporting our podcast, paying our monthly bills, getting us better equipment. And am I missing anything?
Nope. Steve Yzerman is the GM of the Detroit Red Wings.
He is. So for Ryan and Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.
Yep. See you guys.